Are you finding that even though you work at your business as an entrepreneur, maybe if you're lucky, 10 hours a week, but most likely all the time, because the greatest thing about being an entrepreneur is that business is open 24/7, right? But do you find that even though you think about your business as an entrepreneur all the time, you do it most all the time, you don't necessarily know how to talk about it. When you talk about it, you find yourself a little tongue-tied. You find yourself trying to describe some of the wonderful things that you can do, some of the wonderful ways that you can help other people or other businesses, or that you have helped before, but it doesn't quite come out the way you want it to. It's ironic, isn't it? It's what you do all the time, and yet I find so many entrepreneurs that don't know how to effectively talk about themselves. As someone with a marketing business, I run into entrepreneurs and business managers, that anyone in charge, but certainly entrepreneurs, because I work with a lot of small businesses, and they often don't know how to talk about themselves. Sometimes all the way to the point where I don't know how to say what they do. I can't grasp what they do because they're talking and saying, that they do. But it's kind of like this. It's like they're all over the place. There's nothing but confusion and even some sense of overwhelm. Do you find that? Do you go maybe to a networking group or go somewhere with other professionals and you're nervous about talking about your business because you don't exactly know how to describe what you do? Well, let me tell you, it's real common. And one of the reasons it's so common is because you are probably like so many entrepreneurs today that do a lot of things. And the truth is, even if you're an accountant or a doctor, you don't just say stick out your tongue and give someone a checkup. You really do so much more. And so trying to speak about your own business in such a way that's going to encompass that so much more, it's hard to do, isn't it? The other reason it's so hard to talk about your own business is because you're so used to and focused on your perspective. All you do all the time is think about your place in the business, how you're going to grow it, what you're trying to do, this new product or this new service, and how to improve. And you're constantly getting yourself, in a way, stuck in a certain perspective. But don't worry, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's common. It happens to everyone. It's just good to be aware of that when someone else from the outside comes who's a prospective client or a prospective customer or patient, they see it in a whole different light, right? They have no idea about what you do until you start to really explain it and talk about it. So in that sense, going from not understanding anything about your business to trying to explain the full umbrella of everything that you really can do, your talents that come through, the amazing things you've done, that's a huge gap. So this is why it gets so difficult to talk about. Then on top of that, if you're a little savvy, you know that there are certain ways you're supposed to have your tagline, your elevator pitch, your unique selling proposition, your mission statement, like all of these different parts, and you're supposed to be branded. It can get overwhelming. And if you don't have a whole lot of time or a whole lot of money, you may not be able to hire someone to come and take care of that and help you really position yourself, really brand yourself well. So then you're, trying to work with this big gap between everything you do, someone not understanding what you do, and you're supposed to say it the right way. Well, that creates great confusion, doesn't it? It can tie your tongue, it can leave you frustrated. Let's make it simple but powerful, because the truth is, the more simple your speech is and the way you speak about your business, the easier it is for people to grasp. Have you ever noticed that? Have you ever noticed that the more you try to explain, the more people tend to glaze over and not understand? So let's change that. So simply put, I want you to think about your business, and I want you to notice that if you're like most entrepreneurs I meet, it is an absolute umbrella of things that you do. Your skill set is probably pretty vast, and there's just something more than just what you do. There's who you be, and there's your vision, and just so much more. One of the most important things, therefore, is to find what that thread is, what your theme is, what you as a person are most into, dedicated about, passionate about. If you can find those threads, your theme or your passion, you're going to have a much easier time talking about your business in two simple ways. Talking about who you are and what you love doing. Now that may sound simple, but if I tell you that I'm Kaylin, the how-to girl who helps businesses really attract clients, really get out there. I help them simply look at how to attract and how to bring their strength out. Doesn't that sound easy to comprehend and yet so vast? When you can tap into that little thread, it makes such a difference. I was working with a friend of mine who has a makeup line that she sells, and she also has jewelry she sells. But I'm going, this is a disconnect. So I was listening to her talk, and it turns out she's really a producer. She really likes to produce something, be in charge, orchestrate the whole vision of it. Well, that's so different. If you go to someone and you say, well, I sell makeup and jewelry. I like to help women look their best. That's not unpowerful, but I'm a producer. I like to orchestrate the whole thing, and therefore some of the tools I use to help women look their best are this brand of makeup, because it's real important, and jewelry so that they can adorn themselves. A producer, do you want to go to someone who sells jewelry and makeup, or do you want to go to a producer who has a vision, who's orchestrating something? Do you get a sense of what I'm saying? How when you know your own passion, when you know who you really are, and you talk about that, it's a different ballgame you're in. When you really come from who you are and your passion that way, what happens is you're not talking just as a person with a skill set, a person who can teach you about the right makeup or something like that. When you're talking from your passion, you're tapping into so much more that you are. At that point, you're talking about being a spiritual entrepreneur who's tapping into their source energy or the universe, and really coming from that place. When you come from that place and you say, here's another example of a woman I worked with, I'm a problem solver with people's well-being. If their well-being is off, they have cancer, they want to stop smoking, they're having problems in their relationship, their well-being is off. I always see the solution. I'm a problem solver. I know how to get them back into the flow of well-being. When you can come forward with statements like that, you're so much more powerful. And what's happening is you're resonating in people listening something so much deeper. Now, do you want to go to a hypnotherapist, or do you want to go to someone who just sees the solution, a problem solver who can put you back in well-being? Can you get the difference? When we're branding, that makes a really big difference. But all we're really doing is talking about who that businesswoman is and what she loves doing. Because at the heart of it, what we're passionate about, or what our theme in life is, what one of our main threads that goes through everything really that we're interested in, when we tap into those things, we know who we are, and we're tapping into our spirit, into our soul, if you like. And you talk from that place, and it is so much more powerful. That's the kind of power that's going to get a room's attention. You can be brief, you can be simple, you can be very direct, but you're going to get so much more of an ear. As opposed to, sometimes when I go places, people start to check their phones because the person's introducing themselves and they lose interest right away. You don't want to do that. You want to really capture their interest. So be sure to look at who you are. Look at your entrepreneurship and look at what stirs your soul about it. There's something in there that you're passionate about. And when you tap into who you are and what your real passion is, what your theme is, then you're going to be able to talk about what you love doing, and people are going to love having you do it for them. It's a game changer. Again, I'm Kaylin. Thank you for joining me. I hope this helps you improve how you talk about your business, because I have never met an entrepreneur who didn't have something wonderful to offer, and it's all in the ability to talk about it so that you don't have to sell your business, but rather you can express and share what you do and have people who would be so happy to partake in your services or offerings. If you liked the video, please be sure to subscribe so that you can catch future videos to help you out with your spiritual entrepreneurship. Thanks for joining me.